Welcome, it's denome. It is very important to make this video right now because Bitcoin actually just broke through this resistance line here that we have been under it for the last 3 months. Some people call this the bear market, but anyway, now we are above it. So where does Bitcoin go from here? And should we be bullish going forward? So in this video, we're going to take a look at the fundamentals. We're going to take a look at the long-term technical view on Bitcoin as well. And then we're going to talk about a little bit on the macroeconomics and just a little bit about the altcoins at the end as well. Anyway, just looking at Bitcoin, we were below it for a long time. And if you have been subscribing to my Telegram announcements, which are by the way free, the link is somewhere in the description if you want to join here to see these live on 14th of March. I have been saying that the Bitcoin exchange reserves have actually been going down, which is quite bullish fundamentally for Bitcoin, as well as Ethereum. Ethereum 2.0 staking rate has been going up. So this was a quite interesting observation. That just means that the fundamentals of these two assets have been going down on this area here. So I've done a lot of, well, not a lot of, but I've done accumulation on Bitcoin as well as Ethereum and altcoins during this time here. So the last announcement that I made was was actually yesterday when I saw that we are going to push for this line here, that if you want to de-risk, you basically have time for the next 24 hours, because after that we will either break up or down. So if you want to de-risk the assets that you may have been accumulating during this time, now would be basically the last chance, because if we break down, then, well, it goes down, but if it goes up, then at least you have taken the profits and you can buy back above the green line to have a better risk to reward ratio. So once we actually went above it, now it's basically a support line. So it's unlikely or quite hard that we break through it again. So for risk reward perspective, now might be a good time to actually buy more Bitcoin once again. But personally, I did not do anything at this moment because I've done my accumulation, and for me, I just don't want to sell yet at that price. So that was me there yesterday saying that now is basically a critical moment. And now we went above it, which is great. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the fundamentals. Actually, no, let's take a longer view on Bitcoin. So we have been in this area here, now we are above it. But the key thing to look at is that we are above this green line, and if you draw it and you extend it further back, it's quite an interesting line actually. We have to go to the weekly view, because this same line can be traced all the way back to 2013 when we had this peak. And on 2017 we went above it, but once we went below it, that's basically when the bear market started for 2018. That's a very critical line here, as well as we got rejected on 2019 once we touched this line here, and now we have been supported by it. So this is a critical line to look after going forward, because this is an extremely strong trend line for Bitcoin going forward. And if we break it, well, then it might not be great, but as long as we're above it, that's pretty good. And in my opinion, it looks pretty good right now. We're gonna have to talk about the macroeconomics just in a while. Another good thing for Bitcoin going forward is that we had a lot of FUD during this area here. So we had FUD on Bitcoin. Will countries ban Bitcoin because of the Russia sanctions? Will Europe ban proof of work protocols like Bitcoin? But they did not. Also, there was a lot of FUD with the Joe Biden executive order on cryptocurrencies that just I think it was announced about 2 weeks ago now. But anyway, in that announcement, it was not really bearish for cryptocurrencies. It gave us 180 days extra time before something actually happens. What the executive order forced the governmental bodies to do is to actually have a strategy for cryptocurrencies going forward. And it stated that they want to be a leader in this in the cryptocurrency space. So in my opinion, that is not bearish. On the contrary, it could be even bullish, but it could also mean further development for the central bank digital currencies, which is of course something that I don't like. But anyway, we have 180 days more time for the US to do nothing. So that's good, at least for the next 6 months. So that FUD, all this FUD that we had during this time seems to have faded away now. And right now, we don't really have any FUD going forward for Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in the short term that I know of, really. There's some FUD that, well, not really FUD, but some things that you have to keep in mind is the, what the hell was the exchange name a long time ago? Right now, I just forget it. Anyway, there was an exchange, I think it was 2014, that closed down, and a lot of Bitcoin, like 100,000 Bitcoin, 120,000 Bitcoin, got stuck with that exchange, and they were doing something criminal, and the people were arrested there, but they still, to this day, hold that Bitcoin, but courts have tried to get that Bitcoin back to the users. So if suddenly we see 120,000 Bitcoin enter the market, that's that money that might enter. But I don't know, it's a very slow process, and every single time they say, okay, now we're gonna release it, then they push it forward again and again. It's just something to keep in mind, that there's that. Was there something else? Not really anything that comes to mind. Maybe you can tell me in the comments if there's some FUD. I would like to know, definitely. But anyway, in the short term, in my opinion, it's quite likely, just looking at this chart, that we go and see the upper bound of this channel. So that would be about a 50% increase if we go to 71,000. Even if we go to the previous all-time high, that's 69,000, almost 69,000, 68,000. I cannot see it. I don't even remember. 69,000 almost. If we go there, that's a 46% increase from here. So pretty good for Bitcoin. If you go into alts, that's another decent strategy, because alts have been bleeding a lot. At least many alts have. So that's some area that I have been focusing on during this time, to buy alts that have bled a lot. Those are just something that I like to invest in, and usually what happens is when I buy it, it bleeds more. So that's why I keep buying more, because it bleeds more. So finally, maybe that accumulation starts to pay off, now that it seems like the sentiment is becoming more bullish, as more countries are adopting Bitcoin, like Malaysia and so on. Anyway, to go to that upper level, that's a nice one. So right now, I would not definitely be selling, because we just broke through this resistance, and now it's basically becoming a support. This might be another area where you might want to de-risk. So when we get closer to 69,000, that's somewhere where you might want to sell. But once we break, or if we break this upper boundary, then we might go parabolic once again with crypto and Bitcoin. But anyway, this area here, for me, I'm personally not accumulating, because I did my accumulation here. I will be selling a little bit by little bit here, and perhaps diversify into altcoins if I see more opportunities out there. But I did buy quite a bit of altcoins here as well. So don't know if I will do that or not, or if just go to USDC or something more stable, or even gold. Actually, that's what I've been buying a little bit here also. Anyway, that's it for the technicals. Now let's actually go to the meat of this video. So let's take a look at the fundamentals, and then we will talk about the macroeconomic things to be mindful of. Anyway, the Bitcoin on exchange reserves has been going down, which means that Bitcoin has exited into private wallets. And usually when they enter the private wallets, people want to hold it rather than exchange it. And when this is going up, it usually means that there's more pressure on the exchanges to actually sell that Bitcoin. Why else would they deposit Bitcoin into exchanges unless they wanted to trade it? So when this is leaving exchanges, it usually means good for the fundamentals of Bitcoin, for the price potential increase. Also, Ethereum 2.0 staking rate has been going up. That's very nice. The one thing on these fundamentals that is actually something that I don't really like is the number of stable coins circulating supply, because this has been going down recently. And last time this actually went down was in 2020, in January and February. And right after that, in March, we had that crash in 2020. So I don't really like that this is going down, but also it could mean that people have been swapping their stable coins into Bitcoin and other assets. So I don't know what to really make of it, but I don't like it going down, because every time this goes up, it means that the potential for cryptocurrencies goes up, as there's more the world's reserve currency on the blockchain. And the more monetary power blockchains hold, it basically makes the blockchains also more valuable. So when this is going up, it's definitely good. When it's going down, I cannot say it's good, but it could be neutral that people are actually buying Bitcoin with this money. But we don't know it. Anyway, I don't like it. One really good thing that I really like is the short-term holder SOPR. So whenever this number is below 1, it means that short-term holders who have had Bitcoin for less than 6 months have actually sold at a loss. So whenever you see this number below 1, people have sold at a loss. And basically every time this goes below 1, then we see a price increase. And that's very nice. We had a small bump below 1 here, and that's when we see the explosion from 10,000 to 60,000. And we were below 1 here during this time, and then we saw the price increase, the violent price increase here back to 65,000, and now we have been below 1 for quite a while. So this, to me, signals that the price potential increase is quite good, as the short-term holders have sold at a loss. So when they buy back at a higher price, that can actually shoot the price even higher. So this is something that I really, really like for the fundamental price potential for Bitcoin. Also, another great thing is that we have seen funds. These could be pension funds, hedge funds, all kinds of funds have actually been buying Bitcoin once again. So here you can see that on February 2022, the funds held 721,000 Bitcoin in the funds, and now they have 728,000 Bitcoin. So they have basically added almost 7,000 more Bitcoin in their holdings. So this is very nice that funds have been accumulating during this time, as they usually don't want to sell their Bitcoin at a flimps. As you can see, this number likes to go up, but it doesn't really like to go down. So when I see funds buying more Bitcoin, that's something that I definitely like. It's not as aggressive buying as we saw here, but at least it is some buying. So this is something that I do like. That's basically it for the fundamentals. Now let's talk a little bit of the macroeconomics that you have to be mindful of. The first thing that I showed in the Telegram here on 10th of March is this is the crude oil. So this is 2008, when the price of crude oil spiked all the way to over $140 per barrel. I think these are per barrel prices. That's when we had the massive recession. Also in 2014, we saw this massive crash in the price of oil. And we saw a massive crash in price of oil in 2020 also. You remember that the future were actually negative, which was crazy. But now we are pushing for the all-time highs with crude oil. So that's usually, basically every single time crude oil is pushing for new all-time highs, it signals that a crash is coming or a recession is coming on the market. So this is just something that if there is a big deflationary recession in the market, it definitely will affect Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as well, because they are not an isolated asset. So this is not something that I do like on the macroeconomic scale. Another thing is that if we take a look at the 30-year fixed rate mortgages in the United States, you can see that these mortgages have been going down a lot, and right now the house prices are at an all-time high, even higher than before 2008 crisis. But the interest rate is rising very, very rapidly. So this is quite bad, because as you know, people's real wages have not been going up. But as the price of houses goes up, if the interest rate also goes up, people might not be able to actually pay back that loan, and they have to default on the house. So if a lot of people have to default, well, that was what happened in 2008. So I don't really like this spiking interest rate rise. So this could be quite bad, that another signal that another deflationary recession on the housing market might happen. So this is something just that you have to be mindful of, and this is not sustainable. Unless, and this is another thing, that the market is a little bit different from 2008, which is that now, instead of individual people owning the houses, and there was a individual people had the houses. Now it seems like hedge funds and funds are actually buying, and billionaires are buying houses and land. So this, I don't know how much they are affected by this. That's what I'm trying to say, because these are mortgages, these are not corporate loans. So anyway, this is not sustainable if people cannot afford a house, but it kind of also goes into the Great Reset mindset, that they are just buying the houses and people just cannot afford to buy a house and pay off the interest rate. But anyway, this is kind of like a signal for a recession as well. But as we know, they can just print their way out of it. So that's the other side of the coin, is that we could just see insane money printing. And definitely, if this goes down and we see a recession, that's most likely when they will just print more money. So that's the other side of the coin. But anyway, I don't want to be too bullish, but Bitcoin fundamentals, in my opinion, look very, very good, at least until the previous all-time high here. But after that, you might want to de-risk it as it goes higher. And then when we go above the green line here, that's when we might go parabolic with Bitcoin and crypto once again. Usually when we go above the all-time highs, that's when retail people, your taxi driver, your cousin, your whatever, they start talking to you about Bitcoin and crypto, and they start telling you about their successful investments. Well, that's at least what happened here. Anyway, just something to think about. I have been focusing on Bitcoin, altcoins, as well as I have been buying gold during this time. Those are basically what I've done. Right now, I'm a little bit more on the sell side, but if I do invest more into altcoins, those are probably just like a little bit swing trades, maybe a little bit gambling, but not as much portfolio management going forward. I'm more on the sell side now because I was accumulating here, and also because my portfolio is big enough that I don't want to lose it. So I don't want to go too deep into Bitcoin and crypto either. And also I want to keep funds. If we see a massive deflationary crash, then I do have funds available to utilize that crash also. So anyway, take a look at this green line here. Keep it in mind. I hope we don't break it. As long as we're above it, I think it's looking good for Bitcoin and crypto going forward. I think that I've said enough on this video. If you want to use some of my affiliate links, they are in the description. If you want to follow, you can subscribe. You can subscribe to the free Telegram announcements. They are also in the description. And you can follow me on Twitter as well. But I would probably avoid following me on Twitter because I rant about other things than crypto there as well. So for Telegram and for YouTube is mainly for crypto and investing. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you liked it. Consider subscribing, and I will see you on the next video.